it's not carved in stone yet. All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for braving the weather, coming out for our first town hall meeting for 2026. As you know, we typically have town halls on specific topics throughout the season. This year is mainly going to focus in on the capital investment of our park. We'll probably have another one here, at least another one in June, and then through July and August, we'll continue to have these as we get ready for a ballot proposal to get in front of the board and hopefully get it approved and get it on the election for this year. As you know, we have, or you may not know, we have a current 10-year capital reserve budget that is expiring at the end of 2027. And so we're trying to get a year ahead of this. We'll go through some of the information that we have here at the end of the presentation. We do have some pictures that you can look at afterwards, some renderings, and then we'll kind of go through what some of the next steps are. So again, thanks for attending. We have up in front of us, we have some of our board members, and again, this approach that we took, we have a cross-functional team that we put together as well that has finance committee members. We have one finance committee member here. We have long-range planning involved in this, board liaisons. We went out and we looked at third-party engineering company to evaluate our structures. And you know, the good news is we were blessed with a 10-year capital reserve that started in 2017, 2018. The challenging news is it was after the park was already about 40 plus years old, right? So now we have some structures that are, they need attention. So we'll go through the presentation. Feel free to ask any questions as needed, but we'll go through it quickly and then open it up for Q&A afterwards. And then we'll just start having a conversation, right? I think one of the questions out of the gate was, is this carved in stone? It's not carved in stone, no. This is information for you guys to hear, digest, and then we do want member feedback on this, okay? So here we go. Capital investment, here's a proposal. So as you know, our community, this is our community, this is our future. So we have 800 plus acres of woodland here. We have 262 acres on the lake, 50 plus years of tradition here, and over 2,100 members, right? So we're still the largest privately owned recreational spot and campground in the state of Michigan. And we basically have everything here. And we're blessed to have it here. We're blessed to have what we have, but we need to get some of these things addressed. So taking a step back, we released a member survey, if you remember, towards the end of last year and at the beginning of this year. This is probably the most responsive survey I've seen in the 7 years that I've been here. Almost 60% of the membership responded, and that's fantastic. So we took that feedback back. I won't go through all of these bullet points, but at the top, you can see 1,271 people responded. The top categories of what do our members want to see through this capital investment are things that are impacting our lake amenities. Additional pumps, lake level was a big topic of discussion. Weeds, how do we environmentally take care of our lake? Lake was the number one item. Over 67% of the respondents said yes, they would support funding a new capital investment. And this is an investment. We need to invest in our park because it helps with everybody's value at their sites. It helps with the value of the entire community. And if we have rundown amenities and structures, it doesn't attract people, because we have campers coming in every day, every season, and those campers tend to be people that buy into our park. If they see it run down, they're not interested. The other things that kind of popped at the top of the list in this priority matrix were park amenities overall, water quality and environmental management, so back to, again, the lake and some well pumps that feed the water into the member trailers. The ice cream store, the support, the phase 1 core area kind of bubbled up to almost number 2A, 2B on the list, and we'll go through that. And then you'll see the buildings and structures were kind of at the bottom of the, I don't want to say at the bottom of the list, but they were in the 70 percentile of the categories. So we're trying to take that information that we've received from the membership and put it into a plan. And again, this is a plan, it's an investment plan. It's going to be a long-term investment plan. So we have aging structures, they're 50 years old. There's structural deficiencies. Originally, when we first got our list from the engineering company, they ranked, like all of our CCs, they need to be replaced. And okay, so we know a FEMA building, we've gone through that process. The FEMA building was quoted at almost $2 million. So $2 million at 13 CCs, that's a lot of money. So we kind of ranked them with, out of those remaining CCs that need to be addressed, there's a couple that need to be replaced, but how can we renovate them and make them still structurally sound without spending $1, $2 million on them? Roads, utilities, and wells. We have 23 miles of roads in this park. I don't know how many, I don't want to point anybody out in the audience, but I don't know how many people have been here when it was gravel, and then they put the oil down, and then you had to wait, and the kids would ride around on their bikes, and what'd you do that for? You got your shirt and your hair all dirty with the oil. We paved the roads. The roads need to be addressed. Utilities and wells need to be addressed. We're talking about the lake. We have some shoreline erosion, and some of the lake level maintenance needs to be addressed. And we still have storm shelters on here. If you go through the survey results, and all of this is still online and it's posted out there, there's members of the park that say, yes, we want FEMA shelters. There's other people that say, no, we don't. And then there's some that say, make them safer than the trailers if there's a storm. That's kind of what we're trying to manage, right? So if we do look at storm shelters, we still have a couple of levers to pull for funding. So again, taking your input, the proposed investment areas, we're trying to put a comprehensive plan together across 4 key categories, which are below. So you have lake, which we've kind of already talked about, wells, pumps, water quality and environmental management, amenity improvements, pool renovations, pickleball courts, recreational facilities, tennis, basketball, shuffleboard courts. Those are kind of the ones that bubbled up from the members. And then the operational assets. So these are, what we call the non-sexy things, where this keeps the park running. Roads, utilities, dam maintenance, vehicle replacements, our drain fields. These are key to keeping our park running, and this falls into the investment area as well. And then structural improvements, Dairy Dip Phase 1 pavilion, CCs, and many of our buildings are old, and we've tried to manage, is it renovate or completely knock down and replace? So for the lake, we have an estimated $5.5 million to $5.8 million based on the list that's been surfacing through the survey results, right? So we currently have 4 lake wells, pumps running right now. I've heard, again, maybe we've got an issue with one of them in Phase 6 that's up on and then off again. Those wells and pumps are doable. They're there. They're working, But if anybody's read any of the math and some of the input, when you get a 90-degree day or you get a very hot summer like we had last year, these pumps can't keep up to maintain our lake level. So feedback was we need some more pumps. So in the plan we have, 4 additional new pumps. So we'd get a total of 8 pumps to try and keep that lake at the level that we need it. Rabbit River pump, maybe many of you don't know where that is, but that's on the corner of 138th and 26th. We have a permit that allows us to run that pump for a period of time. So you have a short window. That pump is old and breaks all the time. So there's been seasons where we've missed that window because it's been broken. It needs to be replaced. Bathymetric mapping. So what this is if we want to talk with any EGLE, any environmental agency to try and address any of our lake needs, the first thing they're going to ask is, are you digging deeper and wider, or are you just trying to maintain your current depth of your lake? Well, we just want to try and maintain the current depth of our lake. We want to get the muck out. There's shoreline. I know there's sandy areas in some of the, I think, Phase 6 areas where you're coming around, and you can barely get through now because the sand is moving into the middle of the lake. Okay, well, prove to me what your lake bottom is so I know you're not digging down deeper and further and wider. We can't. We need a bathymetric map to do that. A lake weed harvester, a lot of the weeds issues popped up last year with, hey, it's really weedy, and so with zebra mussels that are out there now, they clean all the algae, they make the lake a lot clearer. You have a shallow lake, you have sun going down, boom, weeds pop up. So this lake weed harvester would address the weeds in the lake to try and remove them. And then Phase 2 channel, we've got some challenges with that going on where that needs to be addressed with stuff getting into the channel, trees are falling, things of that nature, that if that channel closes with, trees or hills sliding into that channel, that's a problem for us, because that is, if many of you don't know, the mouth of the lake is actually in Phase 3. And then it flows from Phase 3 through the channel into this big, beautiful lake here. If you have that channel close off, how do we get our water into our lake? Amenity improvements, estimated $15.5 to $16 million. Pickleball court expansions, redesign with additional pickleball courts over by the rec center. We do have some renderings over there that we can walk you through. I'll put some pictures up on the screen here later, but we've got a ton of responses on pickleball courts. Initially, coming from my background of manufacturing way back in the day, is it really we need more courts, or is it people just aren't fully utilizing them and not capacitizing them? We've done 2 years of getting studies and data back from pickleballers that we need more courts. So this addresses that. Pool and water park renovations, so modernize the water park, and Phase 3, so it says Phase 3 pools. We only have one pool at Phase 3, but all of the pools are 10, 15 years old. If you've gone by Phase 3 right now, we're completely remasking Phase 3 because the mason area is starting to fall off. So splash pad, some of the toys there are getting old. The controls have gone out. That the water park needs to get addressed. Rec center updates, so fitness room updates. We're looking at trying to get new equipment, mini golf renovation, playground replacements, and then recreational courts, upgrade or renovate or replace tennis courts, basketball courts, shuffleboard courts as needed. Operational assets, 11.5 to 11.6 million. So road resurfacing, phased repaving of 23 miles of paved roads. we took a real hard look at this, and it was really kind of a high dollar amount item. If there's a couple of schools of thoughts on this, just completely rip out all the roads and put brand new roads in, or do we continue our process of resurfacing them as needed? And if any of you have been in some of the areas like in Phase 5 where we've had to address a water main or things of that nature, if we got to dig into the road and get after a water main, then we're going to repave that entire area. So how do we manage our roads? Mechanical replacements, nobody really sees the generators, water softeners, HVA systems in the CCs, in the buildings that die. Nobody really, again, it's not a thing that bubbles up at the top of the list, but we need it. Equipment replacement, maintenance, PSO vehicles, lawnmowers, chippers. The patrol boat is old and truthfully unsturdy. If there's somebody out there that is in need of assistance, and you take that patrol boat and the PSO officer or officers try to reach over, it's a skinny boat. It'll flip and capsize. So our patrol boat needs to be addressed. Security system, camera, hardware. Our security system's old. It's going to need to be replaced. Water and sewer infrastructure, so replacing underground lines, drain fields, pump stations, things of that nature that need to be upgraded. We have Phase 3, brand new, Phase 2, Phase 1, where all of our pump outs have been dumped for many, many years. That's going to need to get addressed. So camping and recreational replacements, so mini splits for the rental trailers and the cabins, campsite improvements. Nobody thinks about pools, chairs, some of the equipment that goes around the pools. Structural improvements. This is the big nugget. So you're looking at almost $35 million in structural improvements. Phase 1 core area redesign, again, that kind of popped up at the top of the list. We took a look at this area separately, so the Dairy Dip is the oldest building on site. It needs to be replaced. The Phase 1 pavilion across the lake here, that foundation is cracked and moving into the lake. So that area has the two, I would say, worst shaped buildings right now. So do you do them separately? Do you combine them? We had a plan for a South Shore Center that didn't pass. So that still needs to be addressed. Those two new buildings need to be addressed. And again, we have some renderings over there. We need some member input. Well pumps and houses, people don't think about that, but those are your little well pumps and houses that are feeding water into the individual trailers. Convenience centers, replace or renovate. We already kind of talked about that. And a lot of our buildings are old. The mail center, the PSO main gate, rec building. Again, a lot of these were tear down and completely replaced. Do we really need to replace the admin building? I mean, it's in pretty decent shape. How about renovate it? So we have done our due diligence to try and weed out a lot of this cost. I'll turn it over to Kimberly for, what's the investment?
So looking at the overall investment summary for all of these areas, structures, as mentioned above, is 34.5 to 35 million as we assess everything within the needs within the park. Amenities, 15.5 to 16. Operational assets, 11.5 to 11.6, and then the lake, 5.5 to 5.8. So our total estimated investment we're looking at is around 67 million. So the funding approach, the approach we've always followed, this comes from capital investments. This is your investment into the park. This comes from your investment funds or the assessments. There was an article that we put into the footprints not that long ago, kind of simulating what is operation dues, what does that go for, and what is the annual capital assessments or the capital assessments. So the funding approach, it all comes from the assessment. We are able to, and I'll kind of go through, we do have the original $200 annual capital commitment. That's from the beginning of time, and that is fluctuated with CPI adjustments, and that's for recurring replacements and maintenance within our current structures. The new capital investment assessment, which is being proposed, this is to replace the current one that we have, which is originally 200. That was set 10 years ago. And the proposed renewal of this assessment will be after the fiscal year 2027 expiration, and to support these major funding projects that we're looking at. And again, that's to be determined. We're not quite sure, and we're still discussing that with the board, but kind of narrowing in and appreciate thoughts on what needs to be done. And then again, I want to highlight that we always look at government assistance, grants, partnerships, wherever we can get funding from outside of the park, outside of the members, to alleviate the burden on the members alone. And we've been successful with 3 great projects in the park so far, and we'll continue to look at that. I do have to say it's harder to get those grants with the changes with FEMA, but we still try. So that's one thing that we're still looking at. Then operational transfers. We do have the opportunity to transfer as when needed, but we use this as a strategic approach. There is a limit within the bylaws of how much we can transfer per year per project. So that has been used in the past, and that will just be used as needed. And again, one thing we want to focus on is having capital support capital and our operational dues support dues. One thing I want to mention is the dues have to support the regular maintenance and operational costs of these assets as well, not just the building and funding of them. So one comment that came up in our approach with the cross-functional team, well, can you give me an idea of what this looks like over the first 5 years? When we vote into this or look at this, what are we going to get in the first 5 years? And again, I want to highlight and can't stress enough, this is an example. Just like with the last 10 years, needs may change and fluctuate a little bit. One of our reviews last year, we did look at what did we do over the last 10 years. We did have to make some adjustments, and it was all explained why. But for the first 5-year example, what we're looking at is immediately replacing or adding 2 lake wells, addressing the Rabbit River pump, the bathymetric map, and then the first wave of the pickleball area that Jeff mentioned. Adding the patrol boat, that's a huge safety need, and then some road resurfacing. So that first year approach would be about 1.2 million.
And Sarah, I just want to interrupt for a second. As we go through this list, these are kind of the items that bubble to the top. This is not the all-encompassing list for each year. We're trying to highlight, through our survey, are we addressing the members' requirements or responses for lake amenities, operations, and things of that nature? So sorry to interrupt, but
No, and that's a great point. Yeah, so this is just the first 5 years based on priority, as well as strategically looking at the funds have to come in before we make these investments too. And so the second year, well pump houses, 4 new well pump houses, phase 1 shuffleboard and basketball courts, the lake weed harvester, and then some of our regular, you'll notice that the highlighted things are newer replacement things, and the things that are just standard text, like vehicle replacement, security equipment, HVAC and water softeners, those are standard things that we have to address on a regular basis. Year 3, adding 2 more well pump houses, renovation of CC4, the second wave of the pickleball area, and then again, some of our regular recurring items to address with vehicle replacement, security equipment, cabin trailer replacement, and road resurfacing. And then that, I forgot to mention, year 2 is at $670,000, and then year 3 is at $1.98 million. And again, these are estimates. Year 4 is when we would look at the phase 1 core redevelopment. That would be the entire phase 1 core area, the pavilion, the dairy dip. And again, Jeff mentioned there's some plan designs over there of what that concept would look like. That's going to be our major focus there. So then everything else regarding that is just going to be standard needs within the park. And that estimate currently is looking at $4.35 million. And then year 5, the renovation of CC9, well pump houses, 5 more, and then lake wells, 2 additional lake wells. and then focusing on some road resurfacing and vehicle replacements, and that's estimated at 1.22 million. So why this all matters, our priority is to protect the site values. We want to have well-maintained infrastructure, modern amenities. We want to attract new members here and preserve and increase the value of every member's site. We want to attract new families here as the years go on so they can share in the same fun memories at Sandy Pines. With this updated facilities, everywhere within the trails within Sandy Pines remaining competitive, we look at the area, other area resorts and communities, and want to stay up to date with them. Huge one is also ensuring safety with the storm shelters. Again, maybe not a storm shelter, but some other need to keep our members safe. We've recently successfully replaced the dam, and then updating our electrical systems and protecting the members and their property. We want to grow that member experience, renovating the pools, looking at our gathering spaces. It's really hard to see the pavilion sitting since I've been here the last few years because the need isn't being met there to use that. So we want to turn that around and use that gathering space again and enhance the quality for every member here. Preserving our legacy. This is a legacy for Sandy Pines. There are many members who are in their second generation here, third generation. So they remember being here as a grandchild or as a parent and so forth. So we want to keep that going for another 50 years and beyond. And then financial responsibility. Our focus, it is a thoughtful investment to protect, maintain, and enhance the park's infrastructure and our amenities for the future. So last, I can't stress enough, your input matters. Jeff and I both can't stress that enough. We really value the input, as Jeff stated in the very early leading slide, that the survey results were taken seriously and looked at. So this proposal does represent an investment in the shared future of the park and the safety of the families, the beauty of our grounds, the legacy we leave for the next generation of Sandy Pines members. We value your input, and we want to help to ensure we make thoughtful investments that protect, maintain, and enhance the park's infrastructure and the amenities for the future.
All right, so let's take a look at some pictures here. Maybe. We lost the connection. It turned off. Technology. We do have pictures. So from a, we'll talk about the amenities, the pickleball courts. So again, we've done we've done some of that due diligence in getting some feedback from pickleballers. One thing that what you'll see over in the other side of the building here with the pictures, take a look. We want to all-encompassing as much as possible pickleball area. So one of the thoughts is over in the rec area in Phase 6, you have 2 tennis courts, you have a basketball court, and then you have 4 pickleball courts. The basketball court is not utilized except for parking, and people shouldn't be parking there. And then 2, that second tennis court is not being utilized. We just replaced the first court closest to the rec building we replaced that, that court with one of the flexible courts. So the thought process is to have that second tennis court be replaced with 4 more pickleball courts. The center area where you'd probably take up a third of where that basketball court is, have kind of a central area for seating for people waiting to play. And then we'd add 2 more pickleball courts on the other side of that. So a total of 10 pickleball courts. The Gaga pit would stay there. We would add shades. A lot of the comments are, well, we don't utilize the pickleball courts during the afternoon because it's too hot, too sunny. So we've got some shades, sunshades that we would do on some of those. And then we would also try and do the identify those courts, because we would have individuals say, hey, we're advanced players, you're not allowed on this court, you know, go play somewhere else. That's not fair, right? So we would identify some of those courts with, hey, walk-up court, intermediate, beginner, advanced, and then we would identify some of those courts. We'd have a regular sign out of those courts, but that area over by the basketball and the 2 tennis court areas would be kind of a central pickleball area. Still trying.
I'll see if maybe it was the cord.
Yeah.
Doesn't appear to be.
Doesn't appear to be. And then we will post these out on the website. And again, we have some drawings over there. The core area, there's 2 concepts you'll see. One is kind of an all-encompassing, a centrally located building with the Dairy Dip in there, kind of a community center, you know, senior activity center, because we've had some feedback on that with, hey, that's been kind of lost here at Sandy Pines. The CC, all of that is kind of encompassed into a nice looking building with kind of a outdoor hangout area, as well as an amphitheater for concerts. We would also, for safety purposes, move the road. Excuse me, you have the road, and then you have the parking lot. So if you park, you got to cross a busy road to get to a concert or to get to the Phase 1 pavilion or Dairy Dip. We would move all the parking and the buildings on one side, and then the road would flow through. So it's just a road and you don't have to cross it. The other concept is continue to have 3 separate buildings, but kind of centrally located in that area, where you would have a Dairy Dip, you would have a CC, you would have the convenience center, and then kind of a, I already said CC, the community center, excuse me, and then we would maintain the Phase 1 picnic area, the picnic shelter, but we would kind of move the Dairy Dip down closer to that, put 4 smaller buildings there, have a centrally located community area outdoors with a fire pit and things that in area, as well as an amphitheater on that as well. We've done a really good job with getting concerts in here, the summer concert series. Rec has done a really good job with that, but there's no parking, everybody's on the street, and it's a safety issue at times. So we want to try and centrally locate that. Those are really the 2 main things that we have from a drawing perspective. And then the CCs, you're going to see a standard CC drawing there. You know, again, we went from replacement, tear down and replacement of every single building with how do we renovate them and get them up to, if we want tornado storm shelters, you're gonna get a $2 million building. That's the price tag on it now. And $2 million today, if we have to do 10 of these things, and all of a sudden you're 10, 15, 20 years out, it's not $2 million then either. So we've tried to knock that down and said, hey, let's do renovations. There we go. let's go to the pickleball area again. Yeah, so here's a look at the pickleball area without, so you can see that the tennis court on the left is still left there. You've added 4 right next to it. 2 of them have the sunshades over them. You have 2 open, and then you have kind of a support building in the middle with seating. And then you have 2 more. This is actually the old rendering because it took away the Gaga pit, but you have a total of 10 courts, not 12. We eliminated the 2 far ones on the right. The Gaga pit is still there. If you go to the next slide, then we can. Yeah. So this is kind of the rendering of what it would look like with the sunshades. We would increase the height of the fencing around that, and then you would have a centrally located area for people to hang out, wait their turn, shaded area. If you want to go to the phase 1, I think it's the next, yep, go to the phase 1. So here's concept 1, where it's all encompassing. This is kind of the overview site. It's all in one building. You've got the dairy dip off to the left. You've got parking here. This road is now moved, and all of your parking and everything is off to the left, beach side. You have a CC building, a community center, senior center, and the amphitheater hanging out that way towards the beach. And if you can scroll down just a little bit, I'm sorry, up. We've also added a floating dock because some of the comments are, hey, if I'm out on the beach, or out on the lake, I'd like to swing by on my boat and get an ice cream cone or whatever. So we'd have a floating dock there. You could park, for an hour, trying to get those people through the dairy dip as quickly as possible, but then, take off with your ice cream on your boat, okay? So this is concept 1, if you want to go to the drawings, or this one is a little bit of a more modern look, but again, it's all encompassing. It's all connected. You have a fire pit kind of hangout area. If you go to concept 2 is you've got 4 separate buildings. The road and the parking still kind of the same. Amphitheater is a little more detached over there. You still have a floating dock, but then you have kind of a centrally located hangout area with a fire pit where members can hang out. And then if you want to go to the drawings. Thank you. This is more in tune with kind of what the other buildings look like. So more campy, campsite kind of vibe. Amphitheater, seating. You want to go to and then the CC is just a standard CC. That's your CC. So now, what kind of input do we need from the membership, right? So we've had workshops with the board. We've had multiple meetings with the cross-functional team, the third-party engineering group. It's a big dollar amount, right, still, but it's doable. It's not doable in 10 years. Again, we got to focus in on this is long-term planning, long-term investment. And it's not going to be hey, just carry over the 200. We've looked at keeping the 200 that's out there already, adding another 200. Is it another 200, 300? Is it 700 on top? We've looked at all kinds of different numbers over all kinds of different terms, and that's what we're trying to narrow down right now. But based on the projects that we've pulled out of the member surveys, pulled some of the projects from total replace to renovate. We've tried to be cost conscious. This is kind of the number that we're at. So from member input, we're going to set up these drawings in the admin conference room in the back of the admin, and we're gonna leave those doors open. There's going to be a QR code. Excuse me. We need your input. What do you want? Do you like concept 1? Do you like concept 2? What do you want to see in a community center or senior adult activity center? You know, do you like a floating dock? Do you not like a floating dock? Do you think 10 pickleball courts are good, or do we need 8? You know, we'll try and get the all-encompassing. Here's some of the projects that, you know, we outline the 5 years. We'll try and get a list of as many of those projects out there as we can. Give us your input. Are you thinking, hey, I'm in for, you know, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years? What term? What do you think is doable on this? Because this is not a 10-year investment. We've been blessed to have what we have now, but after 47 years, we just started addressing this 10 years ago. Now we got to make certain that when we turn it over to our kids, grandkids, and the next generations, they don't have the same situation where now we're addressing this for a long period of time. I don't know, does anybody else on the panel or committee have any comments, any questions?
I think our goal was, it feels like, so I've been here a long time. From a little kid, I was raised here, and I worked here for 25 years. We've always been reactive. That's what we've always been. It's just reality. It was do the things we had to do, that we had to get done just to get by. And I feel that this plan is more proactive. Like, we're trying to look forward to the future. We're trying to look forward to everyone's investment in what Sandy Pines is. And so we're just trying to take, I think, a little bit different viewpoint of being reactive to being more proactive with our park, because we all care about the park. We all care about our investment. I love bringing people out to be able to see the park, to enjoy it, to see how nice it is, everything that we have going on. And so I think we all see that there has to be improvements. And so I do appreciate, we've spent a lot of time in meetings going over this with a lot of people and a lot of different voices, a lot of different input. And so, yeah, we're really looking forward to your input. All these drawings are over there. And I just want to thank Jeff and Kimberly, too. Jeff has put a lot of time inside of this, a lot of time. So I just want to thank you for that as well.
All right. What questions do we have out there? We've got about 20 minutes left. A lot to digest. Feel free to step up to the mic off to the left here and ask any questions you may have. Yeah. Go ahead, Bruce. Should be, yes. Name and site number, please.
Bruce Hanson, site 1335 and phase 3. I really appreciate all the efforts that you guys have put into this. It's great. Short-term answer. But I noticed it was like $67 million was the number, I think. Is that right, Kimberly? Do we have that kind of, like, at this point, cover how many years?
Great question. So again, we've looked at multiple terms. The terms that work with the math right now is about a 25-year term.
So for the whole thing, that's $67 million based on today's dollar for 25 years. Okay.
That is a good point. One thing within where that 67 million was generated was actually from outside sources with investments towards this proposal, but then the inflation that is added as the years go on. The one thing that we've run into and why we're at where we're at the end of this 10 years is the 200 was stagnant for 10 years.
Right.
Well, the cost did not stay the same. So we've
Exactly.
had to work with the same 200 for 10 years. We've been blessed and we've had some wonderful improvements, but we've had to absorb those additional costs that were not anticipated with the original plan. So our original plan is going to be just below, our funding is going to be just below $1 million in there. One other reason why we wanted to change this to an investment proposal is because the other one, not sure where it came through as a capital reserve. It wasn't really a reserve, it was an investment. We're investing in the park. The intent is, if we can, to reserve that funding, but it costs a lot to
Sure.
invest into the park. So
Sure.
you need to focus on the needs before reserving it.
Yep, yep. Yeah, again, to Kimberly's point, in the original plan, the Phase 2 pool, $500,000 in
Right.
2017, 2018. When we built it in 2023, $1.2 million.
Right.
So this plan has and again, this is why we went out to a third party. How do we do this? How do we not fall into those pitfalls? How do we make certain that we're managing this appropriately? So we've got a project cost escalator on the costs, and then there is an escalator on the incoming money as well. And the math says really 20 to 25 years is where we're leaning towards. We continue to try and pull some things out to try and get it to a shorter term, but right now that math is saying those are kind of the two options that we're at.
Yeah, because I was, looking at the whole outlining of everything is fine. I'm just going to throw something out there like pickleball as an example. I remember in the 80s, it was racquetball. Everybody's playing racquetball. Well, that kind of thing went away. Very few people play racquetball anymore. It's like, are we focusing on something like, well, geez, 5 years from now, people aren't going to be playing pickleball anymore. And, so I'm looking at, as far as like the funding part of it, and, it's the great presentation and so you got so many years, and it's kind of like some of these baseball players have contracts. They say they sign a 1-year contract for a show me. It's like, okay, if we have a short term, maybe the first couple of years, it's a smaller number, bigger number, doesn't matter. It's like a show me. It's like, hey, this is what everybody said they're going to do, and they came through with that, and continue along with the same, because I think whatever that presentation is outstanding. And it's like, hey, we've, some of those things we may not be able to, it's maybe wishful thinking, but the hot buttons, it's like, hey, they talked about doing the wells. You know what? We're going to get those wells done. And it's like, oh. And then as a member, you can look at it, it's like, hey, those guys know what the heck they're doing. And we're going forward. It's like, yeah, let's go with this continuous plan.
Right.
So.
No, and great comments, Bruce. This is the kind of feedback that we need from the membership, right? So the show me part is, again, if we put this money together, the conspiracy theories, we're going to take all this money and we're going to build new buildings and buy beautiful cars and the first 5 years was kind of the show me plan of
Right.
the things that bubbled up at the top based on member surveys. That's a pretty aggressive first 5 years to
Right.
try and hit those things. But
Yeah.
give
And
us
and
our
that's that's like the renewals after 3 years, because then you're still using more of the current, your current cost at that particular time.
Yep.
So.
understand. Thank
But
you.
Thanks.
I'm, excuse me, Jan Van Upstal, Lot 35. And you talked about trying to figure out what the amount of the next assessment should be. I was curious if there was a way to make that kind of a multiple choice question, because you've got members that want to minimize the cost, and you've got members that want to maximize the cost, and let's get this done rapidly. So when you come with your proposal, could you say, if it's $200, we can accomplish this, and this on that schedule. If it's $400, we can accomplish this, and this on the schedule, and kind of make it, if you want this much progress, you pay this much. If you want this much progress, you pay that much. It was just, is that an approach that you plan to take when you propose it, or is it you're going to choose a number and say, yes, it will be 300, or it will be not passed at all?
Right. No, good question. So we've taken a look at multiple iterations of, so again, the 200 that's in there now is absolutely needed. That shouldn't, it is going away, but we need it, right? So that, and when I say that 200, the capital reserve, the 200 that's in the capital dues, that's not going away. But if you saw that money, it's $500,000. That barely covers some of our operational needs, and it won't cover a renovation for a CC. So that number is not going to go away. The 200 that's in the capital reserve now is absolutely needed. It's going to be 200 in the capital reserve. We need to, quote unquote, renew that, and then what's the incremental cost on top of that? And we have looked at multiple iterations of that, and I guess we're not trying to give a multiple choice on a ballot. We have been looking with the board multiple choice and multiple options. All right, the 200 is needed, so if we double it and say it's 200 plus 200, so 400 total, what does that get us? Well, that gets us through X amount of years, and then these projects drop off. So we are going through that methodology right now, and we've kind of got a couple of ideas, but that's where we need the membership's input on, all right, hey, do you like concept 1, concept 2? Bruce's point, well, do we really need 10 pickleball courts? Get us some of that feedback, because then we will take that feedback into kind of our project list, and then do we adjust that? And then that would adjust the cost, and then we might have different options that we didn't have before, if that makes sense. That's what we're trying to, well, on the actual cost, you're going to get the input, you're going to have a choice at election, right? So what, agreed, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the information from the members to narrow down a proposal for the board that the board would put on a ballot, and we have talked, is it just one number, or is it 2 numbers? Or what does that ballot look like? And then that gets approved by the board, and then the membership gets to vote on that. So we're still in that process. Okay?
Sorry, do you mind if I give you a different mic? That one
Yeah.
seems to be dead. My apologies.
Is that better?
So that's not right.
So that's
And
not
that-
accurate? Because if I just take a mortgage calculator on 67 million and I say it's 9% and I say we don't put anything down and we divide it over 25 years for that many people, it's coming up with 225. But you're saying that it's going to be significantly more than that?
That's not apples to apples, Mindy. So
Okay.
if you're taking, and I don't know what you plugged it into, but if I'm taking just a specific mortgage calculator, it's one structure, already built, here's the cost, and you're dividing that over a period of time over the interest rate. We have multiple structures over a significant period of time, probably the same as a mortgage, but if you don't address this structure, then you still have a projected construction cost inflation rate on that structure. So we're trying to address multiple structures and multiple projects, and when they don't get addressed, the cost of that is not $100,000, it's $100,000 plus whatever the construction costs are in that escalator.
But is that why we went to the third party to estimate inflation so that the
Yes.
67 million was all encompassing?
So, say that again?
The 667 million accounted for inflation down the road.
Yes. Go ahead.
I said, so this 67 million is accounting for inflation down the road.
For
It's not the cost of what it would cost us today. It's the
Yes,
cost of over
yeah.
25 years what it'll cost
correct.
us.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
got a project cost.
So are you saying it's
escalator.
going to be more than $225, or are you saying it's going to be less because we're not going to take all the money at one time?
It's going to be more than $225. Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out,
Yes.
like, how are you going to come up with that number?
We can.
You're not
That-
going to borrow all the money at one time?
We're not borrowing money. No, it's an assessment that's going to have to go to the membership, and
Okay,
it's
so
on an annual basis.
Okay, so the money's going to go into an account,
It's going to go into a capital account. Yes.
and then we spend the money once we have the money in that account.
Correct.
So we're not taking out a loan for anything.
Correct.
Okay. I see the proposal up here, and I think a lot of it looks really nice. Some of it looks unnecessary. I still think we're pumping our poop out of our trailers, and I think that needs to be addressed. I also want to know that once we decide on a plan and it's been sold to us, how do we guarantee that the things that we've been promised to do it actually happen? And I'm going back on stuff like the hot tub that was supposed to be in the adult pool area that was sold, why we put the water park through, and then the hot tub didn't happen. Things like that that have been sold in the plan, people vote for it, and then it doesn't happen.
So I can't explain the water park because that was before my time, but I know since I've been here, Kimberly has done a really good job of outlining, here's what we said we were going to do, and here's what we actually did, and they're correlated 1-to-1. And it's through the budgeting process of the board. The board is also holding the operations team accountable of, here's the projects that were outlined to the membership. We have to hit those projects.
So if we're going to approve a plan like this, I think there needs to be something in the bylaws that states once it's approved and we voted on it and it's happened, that if anything changes, we have to go back out for another vote again. If anything gets added or anything gets taken away from it.
So
It just helps us with the bait and switch piece.
So it's a bylaw change, and that's not how it works. So I can budget my house, or you can budget your house and say, I want a beautiful deck, and I want beautiful landscaping, and I want to make this beautiful, but oh crap, the roof is leaking. So my plan and my budget had all this beautiful things in it, but if my roof is leaking, I got to address my roof. So now you want a bylaw change to say, here's a list, but we had something happen, and we've got to change that list to address something else. That
So then we're not
This is a-
really,
this is a plan.
This is a kind of a plan, but we're going to give you the money and hope that some of it gets done if nothing else
no,
comes
this,
up.
Mindy, this is a plan that will be rolled out to the membership. It will be reviewed annually. The finance committee reviews it. The board reviews it. The members vote. They can be part of the finance committees. They can be part of the board. They can get elected to the board. That's the check and balance of this.
Can I,
Go ahead.
if, Mindy, if you could look at the capital investment fund, it's under the finance page, but all the details there, if you go back to the July 2025 meeting last year and you look at that, if you weren't here, maybe review it online and it will answer a lot of those questions too of what happened in the last 10 years, why things weren't completed. We did do that in that review and presentation last year.
Okay. Thank you.
Michael Myers, 648. You mentioned there's like two possible developments in, is it phase 6?
Phase one?
Phase
Are you
one.
talking the dairy dip in the core area? Yeah.
Yeah.
Phase one, yes.
In terms of both of them, is the cost about the same, or I'm a little bit confused about it, or is the time frame different because of one would have to be done all at one time versus piecemeal building changes? I'm just trying to, and the other question I have is that still doable, like within a 5-year plan, or is that still, we're not sure when that would all accomplish once the plan is agreed upon?
Right. So, no, good question. So the the short answer is both of those concepts we're trying to keep within the projected cost that we have. So A or B would still be kind of in that projected cost. Time frame for a lot of these projects, we've got a lot to do, but who wants to come to a continuous construction zone for the summer, right? So with a lot of these major projects, our timelines are really during the off season. We're going to try and get these done between October, November to March, April. You know, that's when we did this building. That's when we did the bridge. So we're trying not to have this as a continuous construction zone. So we try to do it all at once, if we could, and then not have a continuous construction zone. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Would the costs of each plan be about the same, or is it broken down to where I could see that?
No, we don't have it broken down yet, because again, these are conceptual drawings, and so we have a projected dollar amount for replacing the dairy dip, the Phase 1 pavilion, and the CC. So we have a projected amount of doing those individually, and we have a projected amount of what if we lump them all together. And the number that we have is kind of the same number, whether they're separate or connected. But what's going to drive that cost is, what do we want to see inside of, we know what we need for the dairy dip. We know we need freezers, we need refrigeration. The machines are already going to be transferred from one spot to another. Do we want indoor seating? Do we want not indoor seating? Do you just want to walk up? What do we want in the community center? The community center, do we want to hang out for senior adult activity? Do we want an open a lot of that is going to drive some of that cost conversation, and that's where we need some input from you guys.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good question. (10:01). Any other comments? Yep. All right, we'll get you on your way. Remember, Breakfast of Champions cookies, sponsored by Lepinks, and some coffee. Thank you, Janelle, for getting those for us. Grab a cookie, another cup of coffee. Go take a look at the drawings. I'll be over there if you got any questions. All right. Thank you for coming. Have a blessed day.